This week, I'm headed to Crossville, Tennessee for Jazzin' Up the Junk, where I'll be meeting up with some of my creative friends, and we get to shop Route 127's garage sales and flea markets. We're advised that it's pretty hot down there and that we should wear a hat to protect ourselves from the sun. I really don't have that many hats, so I thought I better do something about it and decided to create my own. Hi, my name is Sylvia from Backyard Brushes in Fountain City, Wisconsin. And in today's video, I'm going to create me some hats for this week's adventures. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's get creating. Project 1, I'm starting off with this black baseball hat that I picked up from Amazon. It came packaged, so I just had to grab my scissors and open it up. I guess it's called Black Distressed. I decided to use a daisy stencil since, well, daisies are one of my favorite flowers. So instead of using paint, I thought it would be easier to use these paint markers. So I taped the stencil to the hat and I went around the flower. I started with one flower and I used the white paint marker and I just went inside the whole daisy, including the yellow, or where the yellow would go, and the stems. The reason I did this was so when I added the yellow and the green, it would be brighter if I was laying them on top of the white versus if I tried to cover up the black with the yellow. So I gave it a good coat of the white paint, and then I went over it with my yellow paint marker. And then I used the green paint marker and I colored in my stem. The petals, being that they are white, it took approximately 3 times with the white paint. Then, after I was done with the first flower, I just started making my way around the back of the hat using the same method as I did with the first flower. And once I was done, I just peeled off that stencil and I have some daisies. I felt the hat needed a little bit more than just the daisies. So I flipped it around and I pulled out my IOD apothecary stamps. I lied. First, I did the dragonfly. Dragonflies have a special meaning to me. They just remind me of my father and all the days we spent fishing throughout my childhood and the dragonflies on the water. So I decided to add a dragonfly as a symbol of my relationship with and the time spent with my father. So I did the same thing. I used the white background and then I used the purple and blue metallic paint pen to add the dragonfly. Next, I grabbed the apothecary stamps by IOD and I started with the V, and I used the painter's tape to mark the bottom of the lettering so I know where to place the rest of the letters because they all didn't fit on my block. And I just pressed firmly down with the white ink for the word vintage. Or actually vintage. And then I went and I did the same concept using the word soul. So I have the vintage soul. I used the stencil on the back of the hat and I placed a B where my ponytail will be sticking out the bottom of the hat. So what do you guys think? I think I'll probably wear this one while I'm out and about in Tennessee. Hopefully I'll get plenty of videos and pictures of our adventure and you'll get to see me wearing this hat. So, do you think this is something you could do? I really like those daisies. They remind me of my girlfriend Bridget. For project 2, I have a different style hat. I'm sure there's a name for it and I don't know. But I also bought this one on Pinterest and I pulled out the another stencil that is sunflowers. And I just followed the same process. Figured out where I wanted to place my stencil. I used painter's tape to help hold it in place. And since this hat is lighter, I did not use the white background or the white ink as a background. I just took me a little bit more because of the way the hat is positioned. And I did stuff towels inside the hat to make it a little bit harder surface to paint on. So then I just placed my stencil where I wanted to lay it, and I just started filling in my petals with a yellow paint marker. And I just made my way all around the whole stencil, filling in the petals with the yellow paint. And I think it was about 2 coats for the yellow. I just kept coloring it in as I made my way around. So once I got the yellow, I decided I would use the brown for the inside of the sunflower. It's a little bit more difficult due to the shape and size of this hat. But I just took my time and I ran around and I just colored all my petals. And then I decided to use brown for the inside of the, I always forget what it's called, for the seeds, the stamen inside the sunflower. And I just filled in all of my little brown dots between my petals, using one hand to hold the stencil in place due to its awkward shapes. And I have had these paint markers for over a year. My grandchildren have used them, and they still work like they're brand new. Honestly, I don't think I would ever buy a different set or type of paint markers. And when it does time to replace these, I'll definitely be buying another set, and maybe the larger set. So I was looking at it and I wasn't quite sure if I liked the center of the sunflower the way it was laying. And I felt it needed just a little bit more satin. So I started with a darker paint marker, which is another great thing about this set. There's a bunch of variety of colors in there. And I just went and scribbled some of that darker color randomly into the leaves to give it a little bit more depth and brightness. And I just made my way around, and it was completely random. It's not like I only did the left side of the petal. I just filled in bottom to the center of the petals. And you can see the tag is in the middle of my sunflower's center. And, I'm okay with that. But I just made my way completely around the petals. Doesn't take long at all, and I only did one coat. I then grabbed a grayish black color, and I just kind of filled in between some small dots in between the brown dots. I grabbed the lightest yellow they had in the marker pack, and I just went through and I just gave, just like the darker yellow, I just randomly went around giving it some highlights with the lighter yellow, and I did the same thing with the white. And then I went back with the brown marker and filled in some of those dots, grabbed the black again and made more dots in there, and I just filled it in more, trying to give it texture between the brown and the black. I then grabbed another stencil and I added, again, I meant to add the dragonfly, but I really apparently wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I was in a zone. And I added a little bee to the back that actually matches a little bee that I ended up putting on the back of the baseball cap also. And I just colored in the wings with the white, and then using the yellow, I just placed the stencil right back down on the wings, and then using the black and the yellow, I was able to make a little bee. And again, I did the same stencil with the same bee on the back of the baseball cap also, where my ponytails will be sticking out. And I think this is like the third or fourth layer of the white, just to help make it pop out a little bit more. This hat absorbed the paint, I think, a little bit more than the other hat did. I also purchased this hat along with the other hat, both of them from Amazon. The paint markers are also from Amazon. I then pulled out the IOD farm letters, and they didn't have a comma in this set or an apostrophe, so I kind of made my own. I set out the word Junkin, used the parentheses, just inked up a portion of that for my apostrophe, and I just did each letter individually due to the shape of the hat. So I inked up each letter, set it down, used my finger to press it in with the other hand holding it down, tried to lift straight up, and I just went around with each letter individually following this process. I am wondering though if I should seal these. I did not. I might give them a quick spray of Rust-Oleum just to help secure the ink and the paint. If you have any ideas about sealing them, please feel free to let me know so I can learn from you also. Well, hopefully I'll get pictures wearing the hats this coming week and plenty of footage of our adventures. Please let me know in the comments below which of the hats you liked better, and if you'll be giving this method a try, and if so, what will you be stenciling on your hats? And if you found this video inspirational, please hit subscribe below and follow me along on my creative journey. Thank you.